All right, welcome to the Explainer. Let's just jump right into this because today we are tearing down a highly specific and frankly, frequently misunderstood analytical framework, how to actually override default jurisdictional tax residency. Look, if you cross borders frequently, understanding this stuff isn't just a polite suggestion. It is literally the difference between getting hit with massive unintended tax bills and maintaining tight, structured compliance. We are going to bypass all that generic surface-level advice you usually hear and go straight into the clinical, mechanical realities of Form 8840. That's the closer connection exception. We're going to analyze the implicit assumptions these tax authorities make, the strict legal mechanisms at play, and some really crucial non-obvious details that ultimately dictate your global tax liability. So let's dive right into the mechanics.
Okay, so right off the bat, we need to address the core conflict here. On one side, you have default resident status, and this is a strict mathematical reality. It's triggered completely automatically by a purely empirical metric, your physical presence in a jurisdiction over a rolling time frame. Imagine you just spend a few extra weeks vacationing, or maybe you get delayed by a random medical issue. Boom, you've tripped the mathematical threshold. The formula simply does not care about your intentions, it doesn't care about your feelings, and it definitely doesn't care about where you personally consider home. Now on the flip side, you have non-resident status. And this is a legal reality that you have to actively and honestly aggressively preserve. It is not just granted to you by default just because you want it. It's achieved strategically via intentional, highly documented intervention. And Form 8840? Well, that is the exact battleground where these two opposing concepts collide.
To actually navigate this conflict, we first have to correct a massive implicit assumption about what home actually means in a regulatory context. When the authorities talk about your tax home, they are absolutely not talking about where you sleep at night or where you keep your toothbrush. Think of an executive, right? Someone who keeps a family house in Florida but spends, say, 80% of their year closing deals and managing operations from an office in London. The tax authorities aren't looking at that Florida real estate. They are measuring the primary economic anchor. Your tax home is your principal place of business, your employment hub, your post of duty. Understanding this distinction is absolutely critical, guys, because the system is looking at where your economic loyalty lies, not just your personal domestic real estate footprint. So, taking that into account, the crucial point here is that claiming the closer connection exception is not a negotiation at all. It is a strict, conditional logic gate. To override that default mathematical residency we talked about, you have to pass 4 absolute thresholds for the current year. Number 1, you must have under 183 days of physical presence in the current year. Number 2, you must maintain that foreign tax home we literally just defined, and you have to do it for the entire year. Number 3, you must empirically demonstrate a closer connection to that foreign jurisdiction. And number 4, and this is a big one, you must have absolutely 0 pending or historical applications for lawful permanent residency. Let me be perfectly clear about this. Failing even a single one of these conditions by a single day or a single document instantly invalidates the entire intervention. There's no partial credit here. There is no, well, it's close enough. And honestly, this brilliantly illustrates the overriding power of administrative intent. Let's really focus on that 4th threshold for a second. The regulatory framework assumes a very direct cause and effect relationship here. The mere act of applying for permanent status, like a green card equivalent, instantly and permanently severs your legal proximity to the foreign jurisdiction. Now you might be wondering, why does the system treat this so harshly? Well, it's all about contradictions in your legal posture. In the eyes of the system, you absolutely cannot simultaneously claim a closer connection to a foreign country while simultaneously filing paperwork that indicates your intent to permanently remain in the domestic one. It's a blatant legal contradiction. Your documented administrative intent instantly overrides whatever physical presence arguments you might try to make. So, how exactly do the authorities quantify something as abstract as a connection? It's not magic. They use a meticulous, empirical balancing scale. The system essentially deconstructs your entire lifestyle into verifiable data points. Where is your family actually residing? Where do you store your personal belongings? Where are your vehicles registered? Where do you hold your organizational or social memberships? Where is your primary bank account? They are looking at the deeply mundane realities of your everyday life. Where do you go to the dentist? Where is your beloved golden retriever registered? Where do you keep your prized vintage Porsche? They weigh these seemingly granular data points against each other to calculate exactly where your true center of gravity actually lies. Now, here is a highly actionable, totally non-obvious insight derived directly from the expert data we're analyzing. Do not underestimate the bureaucratic weight of administrative documents. Things like the jurisdiction of your driver's license or where you are registered to vote carry massive structural weight. Why? Because bureaucracy inherently trusts bureaucracy. An administrative document is concrete, state-issued evidence of jurisdictional loyalty. Think about it, it is vastly easier for an auditor to just verify the jurisdiction of your voter registration than it is to try and track down where you physically slept on a random Tuesday in October. You might physically spend months in one place, but if your administrative footprint remains anchored elsewhere, the system will often interpret those administrative ties as structurally outweighing your temporary physical geography. It's fascinating.
Let's take a moment to analytically contrast two mechanisms that get constantly confused: the closer connection exception and the de minimis rule. The closer connection exception is a broad systemic override. It applies to your entire tax year and completely nullifies that default residence status, provided, of course, you meet those strict prerequisites we went over. The de minimis rule, on the other hand, is a highly specific micro-application. It only covers a maximum 10-day window. It doesn't override your status entirely. It merely delays the official mathematical starting date of your residency. If you want to visualize it, think of the closer connection as a sledgehammer that just shatters the default status, while the de minimis rule is a tiny scalpel used for a very minor timing adjustment.
And this brings us to a really interesting concept, what experts call the de minimis paradox. It is a vital nuance. If you use the de minimis rule to exclude up to 10 days, you successfully delay the legal start date of your residency. Great. However, those excluded days still mathematically count toward the total days calculated for the substantial presence threshold. It's a paradox of microdoses, really. You can use this rule to alter the timeline of when your residency legally begins, but it absolutely does not erase the underlying empirical data of your actual physical presence. The math always remembers. And failing to understand this exact paradox is exactly how people accidentally trigger massive jurisdictional audits.
Let's pivot slightly to a critical edge case scenario. This is one that frequently results in massive compounding compliance failures for foreign nationals. So ask yourself this: what happens to your operational compliance mandate if no income tax return is actually required to be filed? Imagine a scenario where you have literally zero reportable income in the domestic jurisdiction. You didn't make a single dime there, so you owe absolutely no taxes. Common logic, and human nature really, might suggest that since you owe nothing, you don't need to file anything, right? Why generate complex paperwork for a total non-event?
Well, that common sense is wrong. And this brilliantly illustrates the sheer danger of relying on common sense over regulatory mechanics. The definitive operational rule here is that the mechanical instrument of the exception, Form 8840, must still be executed and filed as a standalone documentary instrument by the standard deadline. You have to proactively secure the exception, regardless of your base tax liability. The form itself is your proactive shield. If you fail to submit this specific piece of paper, the exception simply does not exist in the eyes of the system. The default resident status hardens into reality, and it brings massive potential reporting penalties right along with it, even if your actual tax bill was absolutely zero.
And you might be asking, why is failing to file that one standalone form so incredibly dangerous? It's because of the 3-year rolling trap. The underlying mathematical tests for physical presence don't just look at an isolated calendar year. They analyze a weighted, rolling 3-year period. It is a compounding formula. So if you ignore the standalone filing requirement today simply because you assumed you had no income, you are actively allowing the default mathematical residency to take root.
That single failure creates compounding jurisdictional liabilities that will absolutely bleed into your future tax years. It's a brutal administrative trap that catches the unaware, turning a simple, honest paperwork oversight into a multi-year compliance nightmare. Which brings us to the end of our analytical deep dive today, and I really want to leave you with this provocative thought. Based on the strict logic gates, that qualitative matrix of your daily life, and the rigid standalone filing mandates we've deconstructed, do your global administrative footprints actually align with your intended tax reality? Or is your sheer physical presence dictating your status by mathematical default? Please don't let implicit assumptions dictate your compliance. Master these mechanics, deeply understand the exceptions, and take active control of your status. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you next time.